thank you so much again for joining me. Good to see your
Hey,
faces.
this is about as much as I can grow. Sorry,
Nice.
the comments.
The
This
quarantine.
is as long as it's gonna get.
No, it could get longer.
Yeah, longer. It's not gonna look good.
It's too much. It's too much. How's your quarantine been going, Sierra?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I was out at my boyfriend's place for a little over a month, and then we came to my place for a change of scenery. So, you know, a little hanging in there.
Switching it up.
Yeah, exactly. Change of scenery, new quarantine space. But yeah, thanks so much for joining, guys. And I was wondering if you guys could give a little background on why and how you started Laurier Watches to get us started.
Okay, well, this was back in the summer of
2017.
We were teachers. We weren't collectors. We had 2 watches. We both had the same watches that basically covered all the bases. We had a Seiko Diver SKX, and we had vintage Omegas that we had gotten.
This is back when they were really cheap, 10 years ago.
And they were like wedding gifts to
each.
ourselves.
Yeah,
I'm actually wearing mine today.
Oh, that's awesome, yeah.
And so that was fine until Lorenzo's Omega flooded. It got steam being in the bathroom, and we had to go to my cousin's wedding, and the only other watch then Lorenzo could wear was the Seiko, and that would not cut it.
It was an XKX, so it wasn't fancy enough for the wedding.
And so anyway, Lorenzo went watchless and just felt off all night. And when we got back,
we started looking for a new one, and we were teachers on a teacher budget, so it was like, okay, $500 max. And couldn't find one, and Lauren was like, well, why don't you just like design what you have in mind, like your ideal watch that can cover all the bases. And so I did, and we had money saved up.
Yeah,
for
by
a
this
house.
time we're like, okay, maybe it's
Down
time
payment
to
on
like.
a house.
So house money became watch company.
So like, you know, we can wait. Our apartment's just fine, and like we're like, let's go for it. I mean, it would be, if it worked out, like how cool would it be to work together, to be our own bosses, just the possibilities, you know. And it was like a huge dream, and we're like, you know, whatever. This is just to see if we can do it. And by spring of 2018, or summer really of 2018, we were selling watches, and we quit our jobs as teachers and committed to this full time. So that's kind of, that origin story, I think, is kind of the impetus behind the brand. Is our whole reason for doing it is we're trying to make a watch that you're gonna want to wear every day, and that's going to look good and like and work well and be reliable in a variety of situations. So what watch is gonna stand the test of time and kind of be your daily wear that looks good?
Yeah, and you have such a reasonable price point, so it's a great watch to get into watches with. I saw you came out with the chronograph too, the Gemini, which is awesome. And so for everybody else who's on here, I got to meet these 2 lovely people in person at Wind Up Watch Fair last October, which was awesome to try on some of these watches. Are there any of your watches in particular that you 2 are partial towards?
We can't really say that we have a favorite.
We're very emotionally connected to these watches. They're our babies, and so we can't say, well, we work on each to the point where we're really excited about it in the first place. So there's not a watch where we're just like, oh, whatever. Like, by the time it's in production, we're like, let's go. This is going to be great. I can't wait to see it. But in terms of like what we gravitate to, like what you wear every day.
So I'm wearing the black Gemini, and this has been my daily.
Can you lift it up a bit higher? There we go.
Yeah, so this has been my daily since a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I love the contrasting subdials. It just like really helps the dial pop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very stark look. And when designing it, I thought I would always wear the white one, but when I got the protos, it was like, no, I gotta wear the black one.
Nice.
Yeah, not that I don't love the light one equally.
Yeah.
I think your inner Darth Vader is coming
Yeah.
out, and you're just drawn to the darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. But Lauren was saying I only wear black dials, so, which is true. I don't know why. It's just so,
classic punchy, so it's good.
Yeah.
And I guess we didn't do the wrist check, but you guys both already showed your wrists. So we have the Gemini, and you had the Omega on.
Omega. Yeah.
Want to hold that up to the camera too? Up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. How often do you wear that versus like a Laurie watch?
Very, very rarely. This is my special occasion watch that I wear to like weddings or like dates or something that's because it's our wedding watch. So
yeah, that's really cute.
But today I really just didn't feel like wearing a bracelet, and this is the only watch that already had a leather strap on it. So like, okay, I'm wearing this one. So
nice.
It's that kind of day.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm actually wearing a vintage watch too, which is my only vintage watch in the collection. It's this digital.
Oh, cool.
CERN red dial. My boyfriend, Spanish Rob, he's here. There you go. He got this for my birthday, and I was like, man, you did the best job ever. I didn't know how I'm supposed to top him because it's a red dial like my logo. Like, it's completely transparent, so you can see even the side and the back of the movement. So it's like,
nice.
Good job. Clap, Spanish Rob. So yeah, it's nice when you have your partner that you can share your watch passion with. So that's awesome that you guys have each other too. And speaking of like the partnership, I know I've heard that kind of Lorenzo works a bit more on the design. Where do you come into the design more in terms of like how you play together and what you contribute, or if there's anything as a woman you feel like you might affect you?
Yeah.
Lauren's basically my editor.
Well, Lorenzo will get like the itch. Okay, not in every case you're the one that starts it, but most cases you're the one who's like, all right, this is this type of watch. This is the archetype that I want to explore. Like whether it's like a classic diver or a sports chronograph, it's like, okay, I'm going to work on this. And then I basically sit there next to him. I'm like, okay, why are you doing that? And have you tried making like those markers smaller or just little things? Yeah, like the editor. Because Lorenzo has I don't want to say encyclopedic, but he has
above average,
a very thorough knowledge of like watch history and design. And
I'd say above average, not
above average. And I am not there on the same level, but I think that is an advantage because I think one trap you can fall into is being so used to seeing something that you don't question whether or not it's good in and of itself.
Right.
And so like you don't want to get tunnel vision. It's like, this is the way it should be just because it is. Like it has to stand on its own. Because I see like two problems. It's really easy to over design a watch. And two problems that you can run into if you're not cognizant of it is, one is, are you doing something just because you've seen it done before and you see it done a lot and you think that's what people like? And on the flip side, are you doing something that's different just for the sake of being different without it actually looking good or being there for
having a purpose
or having a cohesive design? Because sometimes, like, first of all, it's really easy to spot something that's done just for the sake of being different. And if there's no larger like design language behind it all, it's like, okay, well, now I'm bored with it after a while. So just, because the watch world is very insular, but so much has already been done. Like colorways, dial market, like however you want to design a watch, like some aspect of what you're doing has already been done in some way. So how do you make something that has its own voice and has classical elements that are going to age well, and that stand on its own, that looks good on its own? Really.
It's a really tough balance, because like sometimes we'll think of something and we'll think it's totally new. For example, the bezel layout on the Gemini, right? The 12-hour bezel, but it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. It's just 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 10, 12. So I thought, oh yeah, this is really cool. Let's do this. I don't think anyone's ever done before. And like, no, it's been totally done before. Like the Eberhard Contograph has it. And that was, from a long time ago. So
yeah, that's the worst thing. Is like, oh yeah, let's do this, and it's like, oh, there's already a watch that looks exactly like that. Okay.
Yeah, you have to make your own spin.
Yeah, how do you still capture the spirit of what you want to do, and without being a copy or
it has to have the same vibe, but also have enough of its own identity.
And you guys definitely have a good play of that really classic look while looking really well designed without being overly designed. And we had a couple questions from people, and I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, I love the Neptune, or oh, I love this. But Carrie Watch, I actually spoke with her, did an interview with her. She asked, where are the watches manufactured?
Well, the parts are sourced from, I guess, pretty much all over.
Kind of everywhere, but they're assembled in Hong Kong.
Okay. But designed here in New York.
Designed here in New York. Yeah.
And then Bob's in the money. Oh, hey, Bob. He said, are you going to do any vintage style divers?
Well, we already have one, Neptune.
Yeah, and I like the Neptune.
Thank you. And it's coming out as third rendition, Series 3. It's going to be slimmer than it's ever been because we changed the movement.
Nice.
And so it's going to have more of a skin diver feel. We're really excited about that. We actually have another diver as well, the Hydra. And that is definitely a sportier watch than the Neptune. And it's more multifunctional. It's the bezel's multi-purpose. It has a date. And we're actually going to be updating the Hydra as well. And it's going to be probably the biggest change in terms of all of the models we've updated.
So that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's a really nice compliment.
You see our watches out in the wild? Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and instantly recognizable. So, which is true. You guys have a really a fairly crisp, sharp look that's unique too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we're trying to. We want to make a watch that looks really sharp. That's like, like a punch in the face, but it's not like screaming. It's not overwhelming. We want something strong, but it's not. It doesn't take over the rest of whatever you're wearing.
Right. And I think, and sort of to answer a question I saw earlier, if we're planning to do a dress watch, yes. But I think when we design, you already kind of design on the dressier side because we feel like it's easier to have a dressier watch and wear something casual rather than have it the other way around.
Yeah.
Not that there's nothing wrong with the other way around, but it's hard to pull off like a G-Shock with the tux.
It's like your Seiko to the wedding thing in the founding story.
Right. You can wear a tech with a t-shirt and jeans, right? So.
Yes, definitely can do that. Nice. And I see you have some people are asking about the size. Like one person mentioned a 42 millimeter. I really like the 39. I think it wears super well, but I have a 6-inch wrist, so that could be me. So what are your thoughts when you're designing these sizes?
Well, okay, so along the lines of the fact that dressier is a little more versatile in terms of dressing up or down. We also think smaller is a little more versatile in that I think a smaller watch, first of all, works well on people with smaller wrists like ourselves. And I think smaller watches still look good on like all sizes of wrists and on larger wrists as well. And if anything, they skew dressier if you have a larger wrist, which goes back to my point of then it's more versatile in a way. So we think our watches being on the smaller side are I don't know, just fine. Like it's very intentional. But that said, I think we will eventually probably make
maybe. I mean, yeah, I have one drawn up. It's like 41. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it is in the pipeline. But yeah, to jump off of Lauren's point, yesterday night I was watching Dr. No for the first time, and you know Sean Connery, he's a big guy, right?
Yeah.
And he throughout the movie he's wearing his Submariner. And it's a 65-38, and that's like 37-38 millimeters. But it looks great on him. I'm just like in all the scenes, it's just like his watch is very apparent in all the scenes, and like, oh man, that looks great.
Yeah,
so,
and it keeps with the vintage vibes too.
Yeah, I feel like bigger guys can like pull it off.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm kind of jealous actually. Like I wish I had a bigger wrist so I could get that look. My 6 inches is no miles.
Yeah, I feel that. And Quartz Crisis, he's a big vintage guy down there. In the comments, he's like 36 is the proper size for a watch. So I think your 39 is the good happy medium there.
Yeah, and we're doing the Falcon in 36. So I mean, we've always been wanting to do a 36, and we're super excited about that one.
Right. Nice. And when we're always a little nervous about, you know, updating our current models because we know a lot of people like them as they are. And we were especially nervous, how are people going to take the change of the Falcon going from 39 to 36? And the response has been really good. A lot better than I was anticipating. And so that's nice to see that there's a lot of excitement for a 36 millimeter watch out there. And we were just kind of as a result of planning this 36 millimeter watch, we were looking, well, is there anything else in that size out there? Like that is already doing the job, you know? And there's not really much out there in that size. So I'm glad we could slide on in there and provide an alternative.
Yeah. We have a few questions on the Falcon here. There was, what was your motivation behind changing the indices to, from the batons? Did you get rid of any of the gilt details on the new Falcons? So what were do you have any comments on your new designs?
So we changed to the round markers because we felt like they worked better with the waffle honeycomb pattern on the dial. Yeah, it was just a better complement in our eyes as to how the dial itself pops and how the markers itself get that. It's a better contrast.
Yeah, we wanted to in series 2, we wanted to bring more attention to the texture of the dial, and so we wanted to tone down the markers a bit.
Plus, you get better lume.
Yeah,
because it's more surface area.
Nice.
What's the other question?
Any gilt?
Oh, the gilt. Yes. So we'll still have gilt. We'll still have black gilt and green gilt.
Yes, I see VFP watches. He's like 36 Falcon. Now I'll have 2 Falcons. So you have good fans here. And then I wanted to ask you about like what sort of watches and watch brands inspire you. Real quick before you go in on that, somebody had asked how many employees you had, if any. Do you want to just answer that real quick?
2 of us.
Just the 2. Nice. What a team. So yeah, are there watches or watch brands that inspire you guys in particular? I know vintage watches are a big thing.
Yeah, I will say that for micro brands, we kind of love all of them.
In terms of inspiration, yes, the micro brands. Just because, we know what they're going through, and there has to be passion behind it to keep at it, because it's such a complicated labor intensive. Like so many things can go wrong. There's so many moving parts, and it's just an act of devotion. So yeah,
Right.
being at Wind Up and just getting to meet all those owners, and even if their watches aren't necessarily our style, like it's still an inspiration to meet them. We're 2 years into it now, and yeah, we'll take the inspiration wherever we can get it. But just in terms of style,
we kind of gravitate towards designs from the big Swiss brands in the 50s and 60s, just because they have that perfect vibe of this is your only watch and it's going to do whatever job you want it to do. So, and at an affordable price. Well, maybe not affordable, but accessible, right? So, for example, like a Submariner was $200 in the 60s. In today's money, that's about $1,600. So it's still kind of expensive for most people, but also accessible for most people.
It's a special watch, but it's obtainable.
Yeah. Same thing for a Daytona. Like if there's like an ad from 1967, Rolex Daytona, $212. Other Rolex watches available at $80, which is like $600 in today's money. Like $80, $600 in today's money, which is like insane to think about now. But I think those designs sort of reflected being like purpose-built and democratic at the same time. And so it's kind of, so for people like us who were on a limited budget, it was kind of like,
we don't have the same option as people did in the 50s and 60s, so let's become that option.
Yeah, so it's kind of disheartening.
Let's make something with a classic design that's accessible so you can actually wear it. In terms of like what we love, like we're huge Seiko fans. They're like, you know, OG, amazing what they're doing.
So many unreasonable price points.
If we made casual watches, like casual sports watches, well, like we wouldn't, because Seiko exists, you know? There's no way you can compete with what Seiko offers, and what they're doing with Grand Seiko too is really cool. So yeah, that's kind of like,
oh my goodness, the seasons that came out, I was like, the summer with the green dial and the gold accents, I'm like, oh my goodness.
And it's
like drooling next to the case.
What I like about Seiko is like, it's not quite as pretentious as other brands, you know. It's just like good looking, works well, and it's really nice, and that's all you need. And so that's,
I mean, that cuts both ways, right? Because some people are like, oh, I wouldn't pay more than $1,000 for a Seiko because it's just a Seiko. But we love Seiko because there's just something for everyone.
Lorenzo's like more, in terms of his taste, he is definitely more, I don't know, classic, conservative, like neutral colors, all that. I tend to be, I like funky stuff a little bit more. Like the watch that I keep in my mind more than anything is like Zodiac's Astrographic that came back out. Like, it's just a cool watch, and so I like funky stuff.
I like funky things too.
I like color, and so that's kind of where I come in, I guess, with colors and stuff too, because Lorenzo would be, you know, all black watches.
Yeah.
You can have any color watch as long as it's black.
I saw somebody again say, oh, I love the black dial chronograph, which you want to throw your wrist on the screen again? Look at that. There it is. Nice. Chris Watcher, he says, would you guys consider rubber straps for the Neptune or Hydra?
It's not something we're working on right now, just because there are already tons of good aftermarket options out there. Like Tropic Strap makes really nice vintage style rubber straps. So,
and with your whole everyday watch every watch sort of a thing, a bracelet really works with versatility. So I can see that too.
Yeah. But I mean, we are bringing our NATOs back though, because
nice.
Yeah, we try to be unique with what we can do, and only do something if we can't find it anywhere else. So we've gotten a few emails asking us to bring them back. So
yeah,
so that's coming. It's coming back.
Yeah, and with the NATOs, we're like, okay, you know, I guess we don't need to have them. We can just focus on watches because, you know, like they're straps. You don't, after shipping, you don't make much money off them at all. And it's like, okay, if we're going to be, you know, dealing with shipping and all that, let's just stick with watches.
It's a lot of effort, logistically.
But a lot of people have been asking, where are your NATOs? Can I get your NATOs? So we're like, all right, let's bring them back. Let's do it. So we may slowly expand our strap options and maybe include leather eventually, but again, because there's already so many good sources and options out there, it's like we would rather let's do something that we feel can really add something to the market.
Yeah, and when you look at your watches, you guys really do fit that whole everyday watch, dressy with kind of that sporty vintage flair really well. Like when I was walking around the Wind Up Watch Fair in October, like your booth is distinct. You are Laurie watches, so it's really cool.
Nice. Yeah.
And your photography on your watch account, Laurie watches, is really like top notch. And I was wondering who runs this account and who handles most of that.
So I take the pictures. We kind of split on the responses.
Yeah, we plan. Okay, what are we going to post? We don't post that often. You know, if you look at our account, it's like, oh, every 2 weeks. But especially when we don't have anything in stock, we feel like we're just going to post a picture. It's like, oh, this is something you can't have. I mean, it's, so we post like when we have an announcement or when we have stuff in stock, we'll post more regularly. But yeah, we'll plan that out. And then Lorenzo does all the photography for Instagram, for our website. Nice. He recently just got a new camera, a new lens, and all that. So we're going to be redoing the website one more time, and doing all new photography for that. But yeah, it's been cool to see because, like, he just started photography when we started our brand. Like, he bought a camera. It was like,
nice.
And now he's like, oh, got these big old lenses and lighting and. You're in it.
I wish I could say it was a hobby, but there's like pressure. Oh, this is going to be on the website and everyone's going to see it. Yeah. So it has to be good.
Nice. Yeah, I can feel that. So I was wondering, somebody asked something, what was it? So somebody asked, is there any chance of a Neptune with the display case back?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably not. And it has to do with our ethos as a brand.
And personal taste.
Yeah. So we just really like the idea that people engrave their case backs. And to us, that's just more meaningful than anything that we could ever put on there, or seeing a movement. Like I get that, okay, movements are pretty and whatnot, but we'd rather have our watches be like companions. And so to have that blank canvas on the back and you can put whatever you want on it. Like people put their initials, people put like a little message, like, congrats or whatever. And so it's like a memento, and it's like it feels more real to us. We'd rather have it that way than really anything else.
Yeah, especially with your philosophy, that's really a sweet story sort of answered too. Somebody was saying blue gilt Neptune, Ronaver. Any plans for blue gilt Neptune?
Yeah. You were going to say it initially. Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for the bezel inserts to come in. So yeah, it's a really random story, and we said this at the Warning Mount at a virtual wind up, but we should have had them a couple months ago already, but China changed its environmental regulations, and so the way that they finished the bezels had to be redone. And so the first time they did the blue bezels, it came out a totally different color that we didn't like. And so like, okay, you have to redo this, and so we're still waiting on the redo.
And now with all the, everything that's going on, things are just taking slower. So it's been like a couple months where we should have gotten a sample maybe after a couple of weeks. And
the world is so dumb.
It'll be here when it's here. I see this other question. Someone says, "Are you committed to staying within the affordable market, or
That's a good one.
Are you going to be limited by the number of movements that are available, by the kinds of movements?"
Are you reading from my answer? Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so how committed are we?
We're pretty committed
to staying within the. I mean, we're working on a GMT, and so that has to be more expensive because you can't really get a GMT movement outside of Switzerland. So we'll be using a Swiss movement for the GMT. So it'll be more expensive than our current lineup, and we're kind of hesitant to go above that, just because it's difficult for us to imagine making more expensive watches just as people, is who we are.
Yeah, because our whole goal is to make accessible mechanical watches, and so we have to work within, the confines of that.
Right, like $500 is already a lot of money.
Yeah,
for a watch.
For a lot of people.
Anyway, yeah. So. Which
is why you're here.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Exactly.
Yeah. So just sticking with that, I mean, does it make us sad sometimes that we can't make like any kind of watch we want? Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool. What I would really like is to be able to make like a small rectangular watch, But
yeah, we'd love to do like a small rectangular one, but
we
don't. There aren't any movements. I mean, even at a higher price point, I don't think there are any movements available for brands like us that are small and rectangular.
Yeah. And maybe one day we'll get to the point where we're making our own movements, and then we can do what we want. But that's going to take like, millions of dollars of investment, and we'll see.
There was what Habrings, I pronounce, the husband-wife team who have their in-house movement, and I went to a talk about how they started doing that, and it was insane, like how to do this. So
right,
it's a whole thing. Stanislav was saying, how about crazy colors like turquoise panda chrono?
Okay, so that's the thing, like with our line being, okay, we're going to try and make this like versatile everyday watch. Our standard collection is naturally going to be on the conservative side because you're trying to make a watch that's really versatile. Colors and other things that are maybe not like, that are a little crazier, maybe special editions, limited editions, we can do with more unique colorways and designs. But those would be like limited because we want our standard, our catalog to be to be timeless. It's gonna everyday, gonna last kind of watch.
Makes sense.
So concise answer is we're open to it as limited editions. So we're building up to that.
Nice.
Right now, like before we get to limited editions or making one-off colorways, like we have to just have our watches in stock more regularly.
Yeah, makes sense. And then Ronover again, was any plans on an ETA movement? Not sure if that's something that as the micro brander you're looking towards.
No.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with ETA is that they're cutting off supply to brands like us. But in terms of Swiss movements, in terms of three-handers, uh, we're hesitant to do Swiss three-handers just because we don't like the concept of paying more for less, right? So with the Miyota, you get basically the same performance, and it's thinner than a standard Solita or an Neda 2824, and it's more reliable. So we don't really see what value there is to a Swiss movement. So I don't know. So I grew up in Switzerland, so I don't know if that is like a factor in how I'm calculating. Because like for me, Switzerland is just normal people, so there's no magic really.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So we like the movements that we're using, and we'll
like
probably
you pull
go
the
down.
curtain on the wizard, and you're like, oh, you're just a man.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like,
but I mean,
it's funny. Like, I had karate class like next door from like the big Rolex building.
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
like, there's a rec center next to it. That's like
so cool.
where my karate class was. So, yeah.
But we have to be like, in terms of trying to keep our watches as accessible as possible, we really have to, look very critically. Okay, where can we get like, the most value for our money? Because just switching to the Miyota from Seiko, all right, it already caused a big price increase. And so already it's like, okay, that's a big jump, but we think that in terms of what it's going to allow us to do with design, it'll be worth it. And a lot of feedback we're getting was, yeah, it's great. If it could be thinner, that'd be even better. So, like, okay, I think people will be able to stomach it for what we're getting out of it. We think it's going to be worth it. And I mean, we'll see once we put them up for sale. We'll see how they sell. But yeah, it's something we always have to keep in our mind, because we can't forget, like, two teachers on summer break looking for a watch and not finding one.
So I'm gonna grew up in the German part or the French part. I grew up in Geneva, so the French part.
Oh, I was going to ask thoughts on Basel, but maybe that's a little bit too much right now. But just in terms of your vision moving forward with Laurier watches in like 5 years, 10 years, what do you see your evolution as?
Well, we'll probably expand our catalog a little bit. We have a few more watches that we'd like to make. And on that, then once we have our like a base set up, a good foundation, we'll probably expand on the colorways and sizes, so I have a little more options, for all the people who are like, can I get, this a little bigger or smaller? We can play around with that. In terms of...
But ultimately the goal is for more people to enjoy mechanical watches. That's really like the big picture. So...
Yeah. And for us to like enjoy what we're doing,
right,
and work together and like it. So we always have to keep our own personal goals. Like, are we doing things our way? Are we meeting our own standards? Are we able to set our own priorities? Are we truly our own bosses, or are we just doing stuff because we feel like we have to? Like, you have to keep kind of our principles in line, our priorities in line, so that we don't get burnt out and it doesn't just become too much. But we're good where we are now. If we keep this up every year, it's going to be fine. Yep. But if we do grow, that'll be cool as well.
I will maybe take us a few more questions here for the time, but let's see. We have skeleton dials are ideal for mechanical enthusiasts like myself. And I saw somebody else mention that above, if you had any plans for some sort of skeletonized watch.
Probably not. No, just because other people already do it, and it's not really our thing.
Yeah.
So
stick within your aesthetic. And then, and Spanish Rob and Bob's in the Money were both like, how are you guys handling living together 24/7? How are you doing in quarantine?
Oh, well, you know.
It's pretty great.
Our
Yeah.
lifestyle hasn't changed
hasn't really
too much.
changed, yeah.
We already work together and live together. And
You were training for this. You're fine.
yeah, this is, I mean, don't judge us, but like, this is the life we wanted. We wanted to spend as much time together as possible. So
For those that know us, we're hermits. So this hasn't really changed our lifestyle. Yeah.
Nice. Just come out for the occasional watch event and food.
yeah.
Nice.
It was being outside, and going to like our favorite restaurants and stuff. Our neighborhood's very, very quiet. But, yeah, in terms of our work, we're really lucky that we can keep functioning. You know, we're online based. We don't have a physical store to manage, and so yeah, we can keep running as much as possible.
That's great. Good to hear. So I think one more question. Has it hindered the production of watches? I know you guys were talking about like not getting in your blue bezel inserts or something.
Yeah, it has slowed things down quite a bit because it's been going on, like we've been dealing with delays since February, I guess, because there was Chinese New Year, but then the factories didn't reopen for a while. And then when they did, there were so many people who were under travel restrictions who couldn't travel to go to their jobs. And so things were just slower because even though factories were open, they were running with like 10% staff, you know, so things are just taking longer.
Yeah.
And then I saw a question about the Seagull movement. So the Gemini is going to be restocked tomorrow, so I guess it's relevant in light of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
so
11 a.m.
I'm going to knock on wood and say that it's been good so far, because I know there's like a reputation for the SC19 and it's not great. And so during production, when we were in Hong Kong back in February, we were really, really picky about QC. And it was driving our manufacturer insane. But we were like, we're not going to accept it unless we're happy with it from our perspective as consumers. And
so we rejected about 50%.
Right.
Yeah. Of what we ended up having to.
Basically, it was a lot of hard work and energy and money to get the movement to where we want it to be. And you know, now that the Gemini's like out there, it's been good. So I'm gonna knock on wood and hope it stays that way. This latest batch we got is even better than the first batch. Knock on wood. So
in terms of what we've been able to accept after QC.
Yeah. So QC, like at first we were like, I don't know if we can keep doing the Gemini because this QC is driving me crazy. But
take us back to a three-hander, please.
But this second batch, you know, it's been so much better. I guess because, you know, we've been really sent that message to the manufacturer. It's, okay, no, it has to be this certain level of quality, and you know, we're willing to put in the time, the effort, and the cost to make it so that when it reaches at the end point, at the consumer point, it's good. Because that's the goal, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to sell something that's not reliable.
Yeah, that's great. The Laurier standard. So just a fun question. What's your go-to quarantine watch? Are you guys wearing watches in quarantine?
Yeah, so I wear this all the time.
I've actually been wearing a Gemini too, but we're doing a special edition with Worn and Wound, and that's the one I've been wearing this past month or two, and I can't show that, so I can't. But if you were wanting different colors of a Gemini, you may want to tune into Worn and Wound in a couple weeks to get the scoop.
Nice, nice. And I'm seeing so many positive comments. Everybody loves your watches down below. So thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, thanks for pulling us out of our shell and like getting us to talk. It was nice to like see a face and talk to someone.
I got to see 2 faces, so bonus.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, enjoy the rest of your quarantine. I guess, is that what people say these days?
So,
Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Tell Rob we say hi. And talk to you next time under better circumstances.
Yeah, let's all get together when all of this blows over.
Yeah, watch Double Date.
Yes. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and don't forget the Gemini's going to be back up for sale tomorrow at 11. If you're interested, it'll be there. Everyone have a good weekend and stay safe.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.